Jingawala, welcome to Tales of the Tweed 101.3. My name is Arabella and I'm here with you every Wednesday morning at 10:30. It's the beginning of February, a beautiful month it's going to be. And I'm going to introduce to you this month, over the next 4 weeks, all of the Aboriginal seasons that coincide with the months of the calendar. So we're actually in the season of Bamtu at the beginning of February. And that starts officially on February 1st at the beginning of a full moon. And we have 6 seasons in our Aboriginal calendar, and I'm going to say them quickly, but then I'm going to expand on them each week. So currently we're in a season called Bamtu. We move on to Yaga, which is known as like pre-winter. Then we move on to Warrigan, which is known as winter. Jubi, which is our pre-spring. Kachu, which is spring. And Nungaliri, which is the time of obviously lightning and rain for those who've experienced the Tweed over the summer we've just had. So I'm going to tell you how our systems operate, which are actually in accordance with new moons and full moon systems, so they're celestial systems, which will be very interesting for those people that fish and go out into the river system, and for you to start to observe the way that systems are slightly shorter than what we imagine as a four-season calendar, and actually how they're a little bit more nuanced. And if you start to observe the environment of the Tweed in this way through an Aboriginal calendar, which is also available online for those people who'd like to print it off, if you go to www.currycountry.com and have a look for the Aboriginal 6-season calendar, you can print that out, as well as the moon calendar for 2022. And as you start to have a look at the dates of the year and start to observe the rivers and the environmental systems around you, you'll start to see the slight changes that you observe through the birds and the animals that exist in our area and how they operate and actually determine change. One of the really glorious things about the Nungaliri season, so that's the summer season, so that's indicative of what we call Muggara, which is our local Minyambul word for lightning, and Gwong, which is our local word for rain, or that really heavy summer rain that you experience. What's really interesting in this season is we're actually coming to the end of what is Bunya nut season. And you might have seen a lot of bunya nuts around in the area at the moment. If you're on Instagram or on Facebook, you'll see a lot of people selling them or talking about them because they're a master nut, which means that they sink underground like pecan nuts. Pecan is the name of a First Nations group in the Americas. It's actually not the name of a nut. It was given to the nut because the nut exists on their lands for the pecan people. So you may want to Google more about that if you're interested. But the bunya nuts, which come from southeast Queensland and actually as far down as Victoria, follow natural kind of watercourses, and they're a master nut. And they're a prehistoric nut, so it's a nut that you can eat today in 2022, and dinosaurs used to eat when we were Gondwana land. So it's a very unique food, and it's a very ancient food, so it's full of protein. The nuts are really large, so again, hop on the website if you'd like to have a look at what they look like. You can buy them. They're very caramel in colour, very smoky when you cook them in the ground, but also work like a macadamia nut or any other of your nuts. So beautiful oil, beautiful protein, and very yummy. This is the season for the bunya nuts, but this is a particularly unique season because they only come out every 3 years, 2 or 3 years. At the moment, we're in a 3-year calendar with the bunya nuts. So if you don't see any this season, you won't see any for another 3 years. So they're incredibly rich in resource and protein, but it's a good indicator of where we are in terms of our time and flow with moon and energy and water in the ground, because they're a good indication that water, and as you know, we've had lots of storms, lots of floods in the last few months, and it's a good indication that the ground is healthy and flourishing. They're full of abundance and full of nutrients. So when it's really hard, so say we have a season of drought, and it's the third year, you'll see a very small propagation of bunya nuts, because it's an indicative of what's going on under the soils. So when you see pecans or when you see bunya nuts, which are master nutters, which means they all sync together, it's indicative that the soil is in good shape and the nutrients are in good shape under the ground. So it tells you that the animals along river courses and river streams are enjoying full abundance in nutrients, which will actually enhance our fish cycle and our fish season this year, because at the moment what's happening underground is you're getting all these wonderful rich nutrients coming from deep underneath, and so the bunya nut is the first indication of that. That's a way that you would read an Aboriginal calendar. So they exist in the Nungalgiri season. They'll come a little bit into Bantu, into this season, and they'll go probably until the first new moon of February, which is actually, it's the beginning of March the 2nd. Then you'll start to see the end of the bunya nuts. So that's a way that I'm just explaining to you that you can use one observation of one type of food to read a cycle of what's actually occurring in the environment. There are many other species and plants that flourish based on the nuance of what's going on underground. And again, I'll put them on the website and I'll link them to 101.3 website as well for you to see. So you can start to observe some of the trees that are flowering, some of the fruits and the foods, and you can also follow some of the animals that will tell you as the season changes. So that is a little bit of information about Nungalgiri, which is a season of the bunya nut. And as we move into the Bantu season, as we move into February, I'll start to introduce some other indicators of what you may look for as we get into a season of Yaga, which is the pre-winter, so autumn and then pre-winter and then winter. And you'll start to learn more about the Aboriginal seasons that actually are more prescriptive for the environment that you live in the Tweed. I hope you've enjoyed Tales of the Tweed. I'll see you next Wednesday morning at 10:30. My name is Arabella. I've enjoyed being with you at 101.3. The seasons will go all the way through the month of February, and I hope you join me again. Boogle Bear.